Wally, thank you so much for sitting down and talking with us. This is our Down to Business with Downtown Arlington, the first of a new podcast series. And we are super excited to be able to showcase our businesses and learn the stories and remind everybody what's here. So we're excited. Thank you again.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for including me and being able to tell my story. I mean, that's rare that we get to do that, so thanks.
And we're going to hear some stories today.
Yeah. The name of the business is The Man Shop, and I'm Wally Hardin. And we've been here since 1972. That's when I started there. Eddie had built the building 2 years before. He had a storefront where on Center Street.
No, you said Eddie. Tell
Eddie.
me about Eddie and his
Eddie
family, because the story kind of goes pretty far back, right?
So Eddie, I bought the shop from Eddie in 2000. I'd worked for him for 28 years. Started here in I was 17 years old.
Eddie Williams.
Eddie Williams Man Shop's what it was called.
Okay.
And so the store goes way, way back. He had this since 70, but before that he had the shop there on Center Street. Even before that, his stepfather had Bird Williams, a dry goods store on Main. The Arlington Museum is now, which building, and that was the facility where all of that was.
So the dry goods store,
Yes.
which probably sold men's
Yes.
suits, it was logical that his son would get into that business.
And that's where Eddie got the bug, to do that. Been around as long as I have. I've been able to hear the stories. Was it Terry's Drugstore? I think it was up on the corner, and places that came up. It was fun listening to how they would stay open late after the harvest, and the people would come to town and spend money.
Yes.
So yeah, there's a lot of history that goes on there. So, and that probably goes back to the 40s. When all that was going on, maybe late 30s. I'm not real sure about that, but everything that he did was always on Main Street. I mean, like I say, the Center Street building, the Bird Williams, and then when he bought this, where the Man Shop is now was it's the Wade Funeral Home, but the Wade family homestead. This was their homestead, and so. I've got pictures of it of when the original house was there from the late 1800s, and so that one burned, and they had another house that moved the house itself, in probably late 60s, 69 to 70 when he built this building. So for him to build a clothing store on the corner in downtown Arlington was going against the grain of everything at that time, because during that era, that's when the malls were just becoming more and more. Mm-hmm. And even though everybody thought and probably told him he was a little bit crazy to open a retail organization here and not go to the mall, he was strong-willed enough, determined enough, that he did what he thought was best. And I'm super glad, because now we're reaping the rewards of that. It's not my foresight that the building is here and the architecture. Burr Revis was the architect for it, Burr Revis. And to come up with the round windows and that kind of architecture was just time. So it's always been unique, and it doesn't look like just another old building. So
yes.
We really are benefiting from his determinedness from that going on.
When you did your storefront improvement last year, you worked with our organization and our storefront grant program.
Yes.
You shared with me the historic drawings of this building, the architecture drawings, and what sits here today is really, is iconic 1970s architecture, and probably historic in its own right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I really appreciate that you've protected that and taken care of it all these years, because it is great. And you are the pioneering businesses that saw the value of downtown long before it was cool. Or Eddie did.
Yeah, Eddie gets most of the credit. And while Eddie owned it, the downtown had gone into a serious decline actually, and so it was headed for not good things at all. Fortunately, there was some four thinkers. Jerry Jordan was one of them, and there's a bunch that goes on that list. But to have the foresight to make plans that, even though they didn't get to see the finish of it, that we're reaping the rewards now. When we bought the building in 2000, I guess that's when things started getting a whole lot better. And so I guess that goes into faith and taking a leap of faith. You know, when you buy the building in 2001, when there's not really much around, because it would have been easier for it to go that way than what it's done and pull back up. So I'm just tickled that we were able to do it, and that downtown has grown up, you know, with a lot of energy to downtown. You know, between that and the Legal Draft Brewery and just a lot of the things that are going on down here, that helped give the synergy of the little guys and really do a whole lot more than what was done. So I can remember in '72 when I started here, there were really 2 restaurants in downtown.
How old were you when you started here?
17. I was 17 years old. And so if you didn't bring your lunch here, your options were to go to McDonald's, and at that time it was not even a drive-through. It was you had to go to the window and pick it up at the window. So there was no dining in there. You had to go there, or there was the Wyatt's cafeteria down. Okay. Again, that's next to Randy Ford's, Gilligan's place down there. So that was your options, you know, of what to go. And so it's really come a long ways. So
what do you see as the future of downtown Arlington?
Well, with all of the building and then improvements, and then bringing the people downtown, and you know, the one that they're building up now, I think it's 7 Main Place or something. I mean, that's upper end. That's going to really be nice. So I think that the only way that it can go right now is forward and upward and a lot better. So that part for us, I think, will be good. Just generating a positive attitude, you know, to being down here. Used to, like I say, being here since '72, you'd say, "Where's the shop?" And I said, "It's in downtown Arlington." And they go, "Well, where's that?" And you'd think, really, that's a question? But there really wasn't a downtown Arlington. And so now they've turned it around. To downtown is, at least, and so that's really getting a whole lot more activity and recognition, you know, from that kind of stuff. So again, grateful that we are where we are.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about kind of the magic of the man shop. When you came to work here at 17, you came to work for Eddie Williams at his store, and you eventually guys moved up his business, and then eventually bought the building. But when you were 17, what were you thinking? Did you know you were going to have a career at the man shop? And what was it you learned from Eddie that you still practice as part of your business today?
Let's see, the first question, I'm one of the fortunate people that I knew what I wanted to do early on. So I went to Arlington High School, and I was in a program called DE. And so there you had to get a job, and that was part of yours. The first job I had was at the Leonard's department store, which was, again, the mall, the Forum 303 mall back in the day. And so I started there, Christmas help. I had to be 16, but just barely. And I knew then that I wanted to be in the service industry, and clothing happened to be the part that was my product, but really service was that. I didn't understand how people could point towards what people were asking for rather than going and showing them. I still don't understand that. So I knew early on that that's what I wanted to do. So when I came to visit with Eddie, Frank Hilliard, there's another name from the past, a dentist, my mother worked for him. And so he had put a good word in with Eddie. In that era, haircuts were tight, and, really all that kind of stuff. And so I came in and I'd just gotten a haircut, and it was still about right here. And so one of the first things he said was, well, you're going to have to get a haircut, boy. So, but when he asked me what my goals were, I told him I wanted to own my own clothing store. And little did I know, I never dreamed it would be this one. So that was a prophecy that came to light that really wasn't intended, but that's what I've always wanted to do, is do that. And I still go back to the service part, and it's about relationships. It's not really about just selling. And we have the luxury of sometimes making decisions based on building relationships, not just based on making a sale. Mm-hmm. And I guess in the selfish way, in the long term, we do the best for the customer, and then that brings them back to us, and it makes it a lot easier than always just having to grind and worrying about sales. Our operation has never been based on just sales. It's always been on relationships and how you can build that long-term trust. Mm-hmm. They always talk about trust and building, and that takes a long time to do, and it takes a little bit to knock it down, but a lot to build it up. So, and that's what we enjoy, and so we really enjoy doing that. And one of the things too is the guys that are here, they're not here waiting for their next job. This is their career. This is what they're going to do, and so they are able to have their attitudes and decisions and all that based on that, rather than the paycheck and what they're going to make this week. And that's always the kind of organization that I wanted to be a part of.
Yeah, it's a great way to take the legacy that was Eddie Williams and now mentor and teach your guys kind of service. I mean, talk about what it is customers can always expect to get when they walk in the door here.
Hopefully they can expect to get more than they can expect.
Oh, I like that.
Yesterday's an example. I have a friend who we had bought a coat and shoes, and I was able to drive it up to him up on the north side of Decatur yesterday. That's where he was, that's where he needed it, and so we did it, and did it with a smile. I mean, that's the part that we enjoy, is because we really do like seeing them smile. So I guess to expect more, that we're going to try to outdo your expectations, I guess is what it is. And again, it goes back to just the service and not trying to grind, and just what do you need? We'll take care of it. We may have to get it, but we're willing to do whatever that takes. And like I say, I'm sure if an accountant or something looked at some of our decisions, they would think we were as crazy as Eddie was when he built the building. But that's what we think is best for the long run, is doing what's best for the relationships.
So generations of Arlingtonites have brought their young children, not children, but their young men here. This is a grown-up shopping experience, but people have, made this a place for special occasions.
Yes.
Can you some of that work and what you do to take care of people with some of those big life-changing moments?
Part of the thing that makes us proud is that we're going on some fourth-generation families. I was thinking this morning about that. I mean, some of the guys that I take care of now, I knew their granddaddy, and they didn't. I mean, he was gone before they got here. So to brag on having 4 generations, that tells a lot to me. And also when you talk about bringing it in for special life occasions, that they choose us to show the younger generation how it's supposed to be done. So that's one of the things that I pride ourselves on. So they bring a young fella here, and we do what we do, and so then they now need to be done, and it's up to them if they want to continue with that or not. Whether they live here or live elsewhere, they'll always know how the attitude that was going on and the way that it should be done. So that's a good education for me, a legacy to keep that going. Online and all the non-touch stuff going on, you know, I still think there's a place for relationships in whether it's clothing or whatever your product is. But I still feel like there's plenty of room for that kind of relationship selling.
Yes, and you're one of those businesses that transcends the internet sales in that you just talked about it. You've graduated customers that probably now live all over the country. So you're not just a local man shop. I mean, you are a destination retail. You've dressed celebrities. I'm not going to name drop, but because I know you, that's not your style. But can you talk a little bit about how you guys have gone above and beyond to help people with their clothing needs from all over the country?
You know, there's three that I can think of right this second. One guy lived in Colorado, and he endeared to me. We had a shoe system here. It was called a Tabo, and so it was a custom shoe thing, and you could pick the color and design it and all this kind of stuff. And so got a phone call that we wanted a navy blue shoe and a 10.5D, and the Brandon Baker worked with us at the time. And he said, well, we can't do it that way. I have to measure your feet. So he comes in, and there were, I think, 3 other people with him. And so we fit him and took care of him, and he was very low key and didn't really give much information or any of that kind of stuff. And so then as the years progressed, he would always come in a different car, but they were very nondescript. Well, come to find out, he was flying his G4 jet in from Colorado.
For shoes.
For us. Well, it started with shoes. Then I got to be his haberdasher. And so.
Say that word again.
Haberdasher.
Haberdasher.
Yeah, we were his haberdasher.
That is a word I haven't heard. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we're going to come back to that. Keep going with your story.
Okay, so the fun part was he was as under the radar and didn't want anybody to know any of that kind of stuff about him. So then once we got to be friends, then I learned that he was flying his jet in and he would rent a car. That's why he was always in a different car. And then as our friendship progressed, I would go up to Colorado to his home and deal with his closet and help him, you know, take care of all that kind of stuff. And to be welcome into somebody's home, under that's a true sign of friendship. So that's one of the things. And you know, he tested me a few times and rewarded me 4 times from that test. I didn't know that I was getting tested. I was just trying to do the right thing, and it really did turn out to be one of the best things we've ever. So you know, there's that. It goes back. I don't know how many years. There's a guy that lived in Tampa, Florida, that, and this is before social media, and this is before internet and all that kind of stuff. And so he had trouble matching his shirts and ties and suits. So I would just number 1, 1, 1 so that they all went together. And so nobody would do that for him. So he would fly from Tampa to come up here and do that kind of stuff. Where I've got, if you take care of their closet and make sure that those things go together, I've got them in a section so he knows that all he's got to do is grab it and pull it and put it on. And that's the part that I enjoy, is relationships and that kind of stuff. And then what was the other question? Oh, the haberdasher.
Yeah, tell me about that. That's a great word. It's a very vintage word.
A haberdasher, and that goes back to the name of our corporation, I guess you call it, partnership, is de rigueur, and it's really French. It's called, and it really means for the prop things. And so
rigorous.
De rigueur. Yes. De rigueur. And so, and that's the name of, like I say, of our partnership, and that's how I want to do things, is the proper way to do it. That means making the hard decision and doing what you don't, but that's what is part of the haberdasher. Haberdasher means anything with clothing, from buttons to closet consultant, any of that kind of stuff. So, and yeah, it's an old vintage term.
And
so,
it's associated with men.
Absolutely. Yep.
Or can a haberdasher help with her clothing? Have you ever thought of that?
Yeah, well, he did. Yes, yes. When I bought the shop from Eddie in 2000, we had delved into the ladies stuff. So this was in really 95-ish, I guess it is, and that's when bankers specifically were kind of dressing like men. They had on their coats and
Yes.
their
Padded shoulders.
yeah, and all that kind of stuff. So we did. We had a whole department and did really pretty good with it. But then that style of dress, I guess, kind of faded away. And so when I bought the shop, I inherited a bunch of that stuff. And so I have a friend who we're still good buddies. He had called for a donation for the women's shelter. And while I'm looking around, and it's like, I got a donation for you. Take all of this stuff to the women's shelter. I don't even remember now how much it was, but it was a bunch of inventory. And so that was my women's shelter, and that's how I got out of the ladies' business.
That probably helped quite a few people
I hope so.
with their job interviews and getting jobs.
I hope so. So and so shy about the lady stuff. We have some custom clothings that are starting to offer suits and stuff for ladies. So, but that's a whole different dynamic of what we're used to measuring and that kind of stuff. So, so that's in our future. Especially when you talk about the displays now, we're doing so much more casual than we with suits and ties. Back when we bought it, we used to carry, over 500 sleeves of clothing. I mean, that's what everybody, the suits lined the whole store.
It was just a businessman's store.
Yeah, and we might have one rack of pants. Mm-hmm. And so now, it's evolved to where it's quite the other way around. I've got a few sleeves because we do so much in custom. We found some sources that keep the custom prices pretty relevant and really not that much more than what we're selling off the rack. So that's been a big growth for us. So then that leaves more room and more opportunity for the casual wear, especially now with what's going on, the athleisure, what we call athleisure wear.
Yes.
That's also got to be a big part of it. So, but the clothing is still, I guess, what we're known for, and built the friendships over 30 years, and so that's we still do a lot of that kind of clothing.
I want you to talk a little bit about the value of a well-dressed man. You told me a story about that picture on the wall. And, I know that that's a core part of your business, is making sure that, like you talked about, people know the right way to do it, that there's this great value in making a good first impression. And just the impression and the image of a well-dressed person.
I've always felt like if you don't respect yourself enough to present yourself properly, why should anybody else? So that's one of the things. One of the fun stories to tell about, you were referring to, I was in a situation where the owner of a company was dressed in khakis and a polo shirt, and there was a group there that they assumed I was the owner because I had on a sport coat, and which was the funny part, because the guy without the sport coat was the one with real money, not me. So that ended up being a fun one to tell. So yeah, like I say, I think it goes back to respect and dressing properly, and showing people that you respect them enough to dress for them. I mean, that's something we built a career off of.
So how has this COVID pandemic affected your business, and what have you done to adapt?
It's made us better.
Okay.
It's made us better. That doesn't mean it's more fun. That just means it's making it better. I mean, we've cut back where we had to. Again, being small, we're able to do that quickly. So we're able to be more adaptable. I guess one of the main things, and I've heard this, you knew that there's things you're going to need to do in a 5-year period, and COVID has moved it up about 4 years. You need to do it now. You don't have the luxury of waiting longer. And so with us, one of the things is we went online. So we're growing in that, baby steps, which I knew we needed to do, but I didn't really have the incentive to put the money and manpower towards it. So, and that's still not me. That goes back to Holden and Austin. They're the ones that are really generating all that. That's the younger guys that also does our social media and that kind of stuff. I mean, that's so important. But that's what they do. That's not anything that I'm that strong at. The other thing that plays back into all of this is what we've really done all along is what I talked about, driving an hour yesterday to deliver to somebody. I mean, that's in our DNA. That's what we do. And so we've adapted to porch drops, meaning I can run it by your store or by your home and drop it at the porch and leave. We don't have to shake hands and all that kind of stuff. So being adaptable that way. But like I said, that's what we've done all along. So that's been an easy transition, I guess, to that.
Before the pandemic, there was already kind of an acknowledgement across America that we were over-retailed and that a lot of brick and mortar stores were struggling in the face of Amazon and the growing success of online convenience for shopping. What is it, though, that brick and mortar stores offer that you don't get with online? And you're a brick and mortar store that's figuring out how to adapt, so you're going to have your online platform and then you're going to have your brick and mortar experience. So for instance, this Christmas, what is it about coming into your store that's going to make it so much better than just ordering online?
Oh, it still goes back to relationships. You come in, most of the people that come in, we know their names, we know their history, we know who they're buying for, we know their sizes, their styles, and a lot of times they are able to say, I need something for, whoever it is, and we've got about 3 suggestions, and it's like, that's fine, and it makes it easy. So I guess the ease of shopping and peeling down the options. And like I say, that still goes back to what you've built over the past years. And during this pandemic, one of the things that I've realized is that we are now reaping the rewards for our relationships that we've built for the past years. And that could be good or it could be bad. But however you've acted through those years, that's what you're reaping now. So fortunately, most of ours have been good. So I guess, coming in and having the confidence that what you're getting is really something that we feel like the person really wants and would enjoy, and that kind of stuff, because we know them and have grown up with them.
So what would you tell an earlier version of yourself or another young entrepreneur who's thinking about starting a business? What would the advice that you would provide?
Patience, perseverance, and just to not get in a hurry. There's so many things that come along that you just have to have the right attitude. When they say, your secret to success, whatever it is, it goes back to burning the boats. I didn't have an option. I didn't have an option to not be successful. So earlier version would be, like I said, be patient and don't set your expectations higher than they should be. Spend less than you make. That's
some basics.
That's some pretty simple stuff. Yeah, live below your means. I mean, that just.
So you can buy some nice clothes.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's really fun to hear a story like yours, because running downtown organizations, we all got started in the 80s when malls were where all the retail wanted to be, and where the customers wanted to be. And it's been a sea change in the last 25 years. Now the energy has come back to city centers and to downtowns, and companies like yours that stayed and were able to last, or that are coming back now, those pioneers, like you said at the beginning, really are reaping those benefits. I'm curious what your thoughts are about the future of retail. We've got a lot of spread out retail in Arlington, but you're right here in the middle of this downtown. You touched on the Levitt and the walkability. What do you think is going to happen on Main Street? And how long do you see yourself here? Like, this building is going to be here a long time, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, as far as what's for downtown and Main Street, I can only see it getting better because what we talked about, the people and stuff that are moving in and getting used to that, and not going to the mall, and not doing all that. They find their little shop that they like the people and they want to help them grow. And so I think that's the future of what's going on. And so I think this will be better. I mean, I see our small retailers doing better than the large big box places. And as far as how long, I hope it's here a long, long time, long after I'm gone, like Eddie. I mean, this is it's not just a store, it's a legacy. And so to be able to continue and grow that, I think that'd be wonderful. And I think we've got a great opportunity to do that. Just being able to adapt and let it grow, and with people like you helping us. I mean, I know you like to take much credit, but that's a big deal with us. What you guys are doing, and bringing people downtown and getting the word out, and helping with your programs and stuff. I mean, that's helped a lot. It really has.
Well, we have a great product, so
Yep.
it makes it easy to market.
Yep.
So you've had a number of cool events here of late, and I expect we'll see more of that maybe during the holiday season.
Yeah.
But you seem to have a passion for cars. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, and that's what I tell the fellas too. Any program they want to get involved with, community-wise, I'll support, but it has to be a real passion. It can't be there just to try to get business. I mean, that's not good at all. I was on the board of the Margarita Society for 20 years, I think it was. And so I think that's a great program. But we had the car show the other day. That was a great turnout. And that goes back too to really the focus was not so much come into the store and buy. So it's not grinding about selling. It was about having an event outside where people could feel a little more comfortable and enjoy and get out. Fortunately, we had great weather. And so we had a big turnout for us, a lot bigger than what I was expecting. So that's fun. That's just something that's enjoyable. The side benefit, there were people that came in and supported us and did some things inside. But really the focus was, like I say, getting some fellow car nuts together, and doing that kind of stuff.
You've got a great community here, and I loved talking with a Haberdasher today. That's my word of the day.
Word of the day, Haberdasher.
Haberdasher, I'll get it right.
Yeah.
Haberdasher.
Haberdasher. Yep.
Thanks, Wally.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us today in our conversation with Wally Hardin of the Man's Shop in downtown Arlington, a local institution and something we're very proud of. Please join us every 2 weeks. We will be introducing you to another one of our local entrepreneurs, small business owners, getting down to business with downtown Arlington.